RTO at midnight, so we don't have to.
We're ready, Mr. President, anytime.
Pardon?
We're ready for you anytime.
Okay. Let's call this meeting to order. Seminole Airport Authority is called to order. Roll call.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
Bill Wantland.
Here.
Tim Poplin. Stephanie Lambert. John Kramer. Chris Anson.
Here.
Larry Church.
Here.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Here.
Shane Fisher. We have a quorum.
Consideration and action in regard to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second?
Roll call.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Airport Authority? If not, there being nothing else on the agenda for the authority, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. That brings us to the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call.
John Kramer. Tim Poplin. Dee Dee Patterson.
Here.
Bill Wantland.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
Stephanie Lambert. Larry Church.
Here.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Shane Fisher. We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Gas Authority? There being none, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So move.
Second.
The mayor is here, so I guess we'll wait on him. Yeah. All in favor to adjourn? Aye. Opposed? So ordered. That brings us to the Utilities Authority, and the mayor is here, so I'll turn it over to him.
On the gas.
Utilities. We just finished the gas.
We'll go ahead and call to order the Utilities Authority. If we could get a roll call, please, Jay.
Sir. Dee Dee Patterson.
Yeah. Here.
John Kramer. Chris Anson.
Here.
Bill Wantland.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
Tim Poplin. Stephanie Lambert. Larry Church.
Here.
Shane Fisher.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So move.
Roll call, please.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Shane Fisher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any appearances from the audience for the Utilities Authority? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to know why they're using two garbage containers at the houses.
Well, one is a replacement container. The other should be picked up very soon. For the most part, they're color-coded. The brand new ones are blue. The old ones should be green or a shade of green. There has been some confusion. For example, they picked up the mayor's disposal cans and did not leave any. So that kind of left egg on my face, and I'm not very happy. But now that I know you're having issues, I'm extra upset about it. No, they've had real issues with coordinating the pickup of the old versus leaving the new. There was supposed to be a trailing system where they were going to trail as they dumped the trash out of the old dumpster. They were going to put it on a trailer. That did not work, and I guess they had some malfunction on some of their equipment, so they intended to come back and just redo the routes. I think within the next week to 2 weeks, you'll see them come get the old dumpsters, or the poly carts, excuse me, the old poly carts.
Well,
Sorry,
I have
Mayor.
4
Oh, no worries.
if you need some, I have 4.
Well, I finally got it. It only took me, 3 days? So, but any other appearances from the audience? Under current business consideration, possible action to approve the contract for collection and disposal of residential and commercial garbage and refuse with WCA of Oklahoma LLC.
This
Might
falls
not be a
under the
good timing.
category
Yeah.
of really bad
Wow.
timing.
Oh, I'm happy, I have plenty.
There you go.
I will have to put it to the curb for 2 or 3 weeks.
Motion to approve.
I'll
I'll second
reluctantly second it.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Dee Patterson. Chris Anson.
Yes.
Bill Walton.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Shane Fisher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Do you have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? If we could go ahead and call to order the Seminole City Council meeting for December 12th. Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Dee Patterson.
Here.
Stephanie Lambert. Larry Church.
Here.
Tim Poplin. Bill Watland.
Here.
John Kramer. Jeff Griffin.
Here.
Shane Fisher.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bill, if you could be kind enough to lead us in prayer, please.
Saga de Messi en Mischke hangagi godai. Pumaka sapka de kuitje de mado moment po tolofa Seminole. Moment poesti amogen. Yidi no kitchukidis. Moment chimi saga de Messi anogitskas. Amen. God, whose mercies cannot be numbered, accept our prayer of thanks for the city of Seminole and for all our people. Let us love one another, for you, God, our love. Amen.
Consideration and action of the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Bill Watland.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
There's no items removed from the consent agenda under appointments and elections. Consideration and possible action to approve the mayoral appointment of Brenda Hanson as Commissioner of the Seminole Housing Authority.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Bill Watland.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under presentations, discussion by Bob Dillon of Dillon Associates PC of the city's June 30th, 2017 financial statements and audit results.
Thank you, Mayor. We recently completed the June 30, 2017 financial audit. Our opinion was unmodified, which what that equates to is that our opinion is that the financial statements are fairly stated, that there's not any material misstatements in the financial statements. I'd like to hit just a couple of items and try and open it up for questions. Hopefully you had a chance to look through the audit report earlier. Your fund balance carryover on the general fund was about $680,000, which on the general fund it's up about $190,000 as of June 30th. That equates to about 12% of your annual expenditures, which is a little bit on the low end of what we like to see, but it's in the acceptable range. Your sales tax was up for the last year. Counting the accruals, it was up about 11.7% over the prior year, about $613,000. You paid down your debt by about $1.4 million during the year compared to the prior year. The only thing I would add is that you had a payment to the Economic Development Authority that was required by this replenishment agreement. It was about $333,000. And you met all your debt service covenants too, which the bond issue have covenants as far as you've got to have a certain level of income or else you don't meet their funding covenants. And you met all of those. Any questions I can answer?
You say our reserve is a little low, how
You know,
low?
It kind of varies from city to city because each city has a different revenue base and different population and services that they conduct. Normally, we'd like to see that closer probably to 20% as opposed to about 12 or 13%. But you did have a positive increase to your reserves during the year, so I'd say you're, at least for last year, you're on the right track, which is aided by your sales tax being up somewhat too.
So, having read through this, and I had to wake up a couple of times as I read through it, sorry. You know, from what I gathered from it, our controls that we have in place for the city are pretty good as far as being able to, or as far as how we manage money. I did see on SEDC there were some recommendations that were made, which were, I think, taken up, and there was going to be action looked at anyway to see what could be done. I mean, anything else that?
Briefly, let me kind of explain what we do as far as testing and controls. So we go through a quite extensive questionnaire to look at the controls by different segments, payroll, disbursements, utility billing, et cetera. And we actually do tests of each one of those segments. And based on our tests, we look for errors in that test. But so, and some problems some cities have, they're small cities, and they don't have enough personnel to have an adequate control structure. We don't have that situation here. And over the years, we've made some recommendations in the past, but I think we've developed a control structure that the purpose of the internal controls is that hopefully if there's any breakdown in the controls, that they're found in a timely manner by management. It's not our responsibility or purpose to be looking for errors necessarily. We're just trying to determine if the controls are in place. This really, you know, I don't really think this is SCDC's meeting necessarily, but
Correct.
they have some controls limited to the number of personnel they have had. And we've made recommendations in the past of how to hopefully eliminate some of those problems. And the finding that we have in there, this report is the same as what we had in the prior year.
Any other questions?
I'd like to thank the management. We've always had a lot of cooperation from Steve and Jay and the rest of the staff, and that makes our job and our life quite a bit easier too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the city council? If not, under approvals and acceptances, bid number 1, consideration of possible action to approve declaring a surplus of vehicles and equipment is listed and to authorize staff to solicit sealed bids.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 2, consideration of possible action to approve resolution number 2017-24, a resolution for the development and adoption of a complete streets policy, a comprehensive integrated transport network for infrastructure and design that allows safe and convenient travel for all users.
Boy, do I not know what that is.
The key to this is it keeps us in line for TSET money to be spent in Seminole for safe travel to and from our schools.
Okay, so it's back at school, okay.
So, it's obviously part of what, the presentation we had a month ago or so.
Right.
Will this require us to change if we're doing any construction work and sidewalks and such in the future in any areas, or is this really tied strictly to what you're currently working on?
What it is a commitment to pay attention to offering alternative ways for people to traverse through the city. We're just, all this is a resolution. It doesn't have the effect of ordinance, so it's not something that's on the books forever. It's going to be something that we pay attention to in our design and our thinking. We're gonna try to make more access for bike trails, walking facilities, so it's just a commitment to pay attention.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Bill Waltman,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 3, consideration of possible action to approve adding 2 properties to the Seminole Urban Renewal Authority's acquisition list, and his restaurant at 317 North Main and Parks Drug at 330 North Main.
So, as I understand it, at least one of these properties are owned by someone that's out of state or out of town or something like that.
Both are owned out of town. One is out of state.
Okay. And they have an asking price set for those properties? Is that what we're proposing to pay for those properties?
Not necessarily. What this is, the Urban Renewal Authority is given broad powers to both condemn property, take the property, and put it back in the private sector. That's unique to the Urban Renewal Authority. City Council cannot do that. Utilities Authority cannot do that. If the council condemns something and takes property, it must be used for public purpose. That is not true of the Urban Renewal Authority. They have broad sweeping authority. And part of the protection in that is that when the Urban Renewal Authority wants to add property that may eventually be taken or acquired, they must come to the city council and say, we need your blessing to put this on our potential acquisition list. So at some point, when we get money, we're going to go and effectively condemn or take that property. So this is a big deal. I mean, they may or may not, what ends up happening, Brad can chime in, but what ends up happening is they end up getting appraisals, and I think it's from 3 appraisers or three people and a county commissioner must go and appraise a property and say, all right, in my opinion, this property is worth $10,000. Well, if their asking price is, and has been for 5 years, has been $50,000, but the valuation comes in through those appraisals at $10,000, the Urban Renewal Authority can say, this is your offer, and we'll be condemning the property for $10,000. Am I in the neighborhood of correct?
Yes, and also, one of the things that the council does upon the recommendation of the Urban Renewal Authority is to, determine what areas are blighted. If there was a certain area that became depressed to the point where they wanted to look at it for purposes of, redevelopment, they would, pass a resolution, they would add those properties to their list. Of course, the council usually is involved in that too, so that's.
Let me add a little bit to that. One of the things that Urban Renewal Authority is allowed to do is to put on the property list any properties that inhibit economic activity in a blighted area. So what ends up happening sometimes when we go out with code enforcement, write a ticket for tall weeds and grass, let's say next to Anna's restaurant was knee-high grass and everything else around it was going to be prosperous, they can take that property because you can't just go out there and spray weed killer and leave it if it could be utilized for the benefit of the entire community. So it all plugs in together. The Urban Renewal Authority is given broad, sweeping powers to correct things like our Main Street is getting into now.
Now, those same things I understand. I was just curious about the price. And, I mean, it seems pretty easy for someone to say, well, I want $50,000 for this. And course, it's never gonna sell for that. And
Right.
then urban renewal, with the hopes that urban renewal will come in and pay them 50 grand for it.
Yeah.
But you've answered my question.
Yeah. If you live in Los Angeles and you think you own a piece of property on Main Street, it makes sense to you that it should be worth $1 million.
Absolutely.
But that's not reality in Seminole, Oklahoma.
I got a question. Who gives urban renewal the authority to do that? Council?
The legislature, the Oklahoma legislature through federal law has given the urban renewal authority across the nation. Almost every city above 10,000 has an urban renewal authority that's very active.
MAPS project is.
MAPS in
Oklahoma
Oklahoma City is a classic example of what that is.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consideration and possible action to approve reconfiguring the front circulation desk at the library with private donated grant funds from Ben and Jen Clausing and the Benefit Trust at a cost not to exceed $9,000 in accordance with the Oklahoma Department of Library recommendations. The current circulation desk was constructed in the 70s. The cost will be fully funded from private donations with no cost to the city. It's fairly difficult to argue with that one.
Yeah.
I'd move its approval.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And may it last another 4 years.
Number 5, consideration possible action to approve renewal of the annual contract for operation of animal control services and facilities with the Seminole Humane Society.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 6, consideration possible action regarding proposal from Blackboard Connect to renew services for another year effective February 13, 2018, at a cost of $5,541.13. This is non-renewal, requires 60 days notice for contract cancellation.
Mr. Mayor, if I could hold there. We've got Ernie Willis. We are investigating some other possibilities. Ernie, can you come up and talk to us a little bit? When we joined Blackboard Connect, it was the best available to us, and Ernie has been receiving a lot of training across the state and other places on emergency management and what other communities are doing. He thinks he's got one that's a suspect, if not a prospect, that might be able to be better for us, better suited.
I'll give you a little history real quick. Some of you may know and some may not. We started out with a group called IRIS. All of us in the emergency services and certainly in the storm spotting area were not happy with it because it took so long to notify our residents of an impending storm. And if you've heard my message, it's usually something like a storm is approaching. Please be weather aware until it passes our community. And that's because of the lead time. So at that time, Ed Lemmings was our emergency services director. We jumped to Blackboard. Blackboard did a sales pitch on us, said they could do a better job. Turns out they couldn't, and nobody can, okay? And it's due to bandwidth that calls come into Seminole, and all these services are outside of Seminole. So we're going to have to live with that. However, there's been two aspects that I've really had heartburn with Blackboard about. One is we have right now 800 numbers that do not work. They're going out to nowhere. And it's very slow, tedious, and difficult to maintain them. I worked with Blackboard for over 4 hours one day trying to get a citizen portal where you could log on and update your information yourself. And Shelley or myself or somebody else with the city staff wouldn't have to reach in there and do it. Never could get it to work. Bottom line is Blackboard is, as by its name, is a product that came from schools. The schools, most of the schools still use Blackboard. but they have an advantage over us in that they dump their data every year or every semester and reload it when kids re-enroll. So they get rid of all the dead cell phones, they get rid of all the dead landlines. We don't have that opportunity. So I went to work. Chief Baker got the renewal on this, and I said, can I shop it? Steve gave me blessings to shop it, so I did. I went to work shopping on it, and it's, as you all know, anytime you go into something like this, it's not quick. But I am here tonight, and the reason it's on the agenda is, as you see, is we have to notify Blackboard 60 days, and our renewal is February 13th. So you all can either decide tonight, or we're stuck with Blackboard for another year. I would like to see us move to this Civic Ready group. The three major advantages are, one is the citizen portal. Okay, that instead of going to the city's webpage and you filling out a form for one of us to have to put in, you'll be able to go to the city's webpage and go to a link and update your cell phones and your kids' cell phones and what have you. The second reason is, with these folks, what we'll do every year, outside of what you do, what the citizens do, we'll dump the landline portion and reload it off the back side of 911. These folks have the advantage right now, and I'll use the city manager as an example. When he moved from Reed Street over to Westwood Hills, we had a water line break and we gave an area notification. He didn't get it. Reason was his address in Blackboard was still on Reed Circle. So until we moved his address, he wasn't getting that area notification. These folks actually get to take what's called a GSI string, I think. Don't hold me to the IT part of this. But they get to take Southwestern Bell's GIS string and they interpret it to an address. So when we upload that information, we would have, if he still had a landline.
A couple of questions, Ernie. Number one, they don't have anything in their packet from Civic Ready.
Right.
So if you need to give them something on Civic Ready, they may need to hear that. Number two, if they give notice tonight, how long will we be without any kind of notification system? I mean, there have been times where we were without anyway, but how long will it be? In other words, we won't get into the next storm season without some sort of mass notification system,
I
right?
am told by Civic Ready that it will be seamless. If these folks, if Blackboard stays with us till February 13th, which is our contract date, we will have this up and running before then. She is sending me she is sending me from conversations today the contract that I'll get to the city manager and Brad for review, and I'm assuming he'll bring it
We'll have a special meeting for them to
or
approve.
next month.
Right.
Next meeting.
Okay, so,
Okay, to approve this contract if you want to do it.
okay, references. Who all uses Civic Ready that our council might be able to?
I don't know who all, there are a bunch. And I hung my hat on, I have a very good working relationship with Durant and Bryant County. When this lady told me that Durant and Bryant County had switched to Civic Ready, I picked up the phone and called James Dalton, who is the EM down there, and he said Kenneth Epler, who I know, is the one that did the research and made the recommendation. I talked to Kenneth, and he said he shopped this deal with 9 different services, and this was by far. And the main caveat that I want to share with you is these folks, I'll have to do a little training, but they assure me that I can be trained. Have an interface.
How do they know you?
They have an interface to what's called iPause. And for those in the emergency management business, we call it the Obama alert system. And if you remember on October 21st, when your phone lit up, that was iPause. That was a message that came. The nice thing about iPause, whether DD signs up his cell phone or not, if you are in the area that we highlight to be notified, your phone's going to blow up. And the real advantage is more in hazmat and a law enforcement deal. If we have an active shooter, say at Seminole State College or Seminole Public Schools, heaven forbid, we can use this iPause, and we can notify everyone in town, which is what, 15,000 at 12 noon, if they've got a cell phone, to stay away from an area, to avoid a hazmat situation and what have you. We do not have that option with Blackboard. They're not approved interface with iPause. And that kind of, the icing on the cake was, first year it'll cost us the same. What you have on that addendum, it'll cost us the same. Second year, it's about $1,000 cheaper. The first year includes a installation charge, and that is with the iPause option. They offer a National Weather Service option, but I'm not recommending it because it's too much money, and we get it every way in the world now. So, and I will, before I sit down, I'll answer any questions, but I will share with you. I got a letter yesterday from the National Weather Service. We have been recertified for another 3-year period as a storm-ready community, and that is because of things like this. The storm-ready community, Jeff's been through it with Enviro. It's about a whole lot of redundancy, about different ways to get your message out and backup systems for backup systems, and we've been approved again for another 3-year period.
So basically, at this time, you're really looking for us to go ahead and make a motion to activate the 60-day cancellation notice?
Yes, sir. And I think that's,
No, you know, you all assume that everybody has a cell phone. Everybody don't have a cell phone.
no, ma'am, no. I think the mass notification system is more important for the people that don't have a cell phone, okay? And I'll share a story with you that happened to me real quick after I became emergency management director. Helen Lennard, who for years was the water clerk over here for the city, I tested the sirens, had a deal in the paper. She called me up and she said, Ernie, my siren didn't go off. I said, Helen, I don't know. So I picked up the phone and called Dee and I said, Dee, did the siren go off? And he said, yeah, it went off. Well, Helen couldn't hear thunder if it went off in the living room. Okay? So she has to have that landline. That landline has to ring. But these 800 numbers that aren't working are bogging down my system where I can't get those calls to you quick enough. And I want to get rid of them. It's a third. We have 2,282 subscribers on our system, and 800 of them is a third. I want them out of there. I want rid of them.
Will the landline still work?
Yes, they will. Yeah, they'll be the anchor part of this system, and the others.
And she would be able to enter any numbers, like her landline or whatever she wanted to on the system, right?
She won't have to enter her landline. She won't have to enter her landline. Her landline will be backloaded off the 911 system. We can get that information from the landlines. Now, if you should buy a cell phone, you would be able to go in and put your cell phone on the system as well. Get text messages, emails. It'll connect with our Facebook, our Twitter, the city's webpage. It'll put that information out on all those mediums.
So I'm assuming that, since I have a little more information from using or working with you on some of this, it'll give you notification just like the current system of how many calls weren't connected. You know, like the 800 that are bad, it will give you that information as well, and all those same services.
Actually, Shelley and I went through a demo with them, and the as I shared with the city staff yesterday morning, the sending a message is about half the clicks that it was in the old system. The report system is a lot better in breaking down what worked and what didn't work, and who didn't answer their phone versus bad numbers.
Does it provide you with that number, the phone number?
Yes.
Okay.
The system does now, but it's I got to get all 2,282 numbers and then sort them back.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ernie?
So what you're saying, Ernie, is if we have an active shooter at the college, you got a system set up that'll automatically call everybody that's got a cell phone?
Well, understand myself or the police chief or Shelley at City Hall, somebody will have to tell it that there's an active shooter. But yes, with the iPause interface, if you're in the Seminole area, okay, and when I say Seminole area, that's every tower that covers Seminole. So the worst case scenario of it is somebody in Earlsboro may get the same call, even though they're not in Seminole, but because that tower reaches Earlsboro, they may get it. But everybody that, within range of the towers that cover Seminole is gonna get that message.
Same way with a tornado, you got a
Absolutely.
tornado coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good deal.
Good job. Thanks.
Do I have a motion
So move. Move
for the
to
60 day?
terminate
Okay.
in 60 days.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Bill Waldman,
Yes.
Jeff Griffith.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 7, consideration of possible action regarding the aquatic center location, financing, and design.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet, hopefully on your iPad you received, or in your email you received the discussion and some of the material that were sent to us. You guys several weeks ago hired the folks to do the study on the location and some of the design product. We're fortunate enough to have Dave Schwartz with us tonight. If you guys are interested, he can come up and give you a little information on the swimming pool discussion.
Teach me how to swim. Okay.
I didn't bring a formal presentation, but I brought some homework for you guys
Oh, boy.
to read over the holidays.
Okay.
Joy.
Yeah. I'll start on that
You have
tonight.
nothing to do, right? Anyway, thank you. Again, my name is Dave Schwartz. I'm a licensed professional engineer. Our company is located in Kansas City metro area. All we do is design swimming pools and fountains. We don't build them. We don't sell any parts or equipment. So we stay out of that conflict of interest of selling stuff. So we're your advisor, if you will. And what we've done thus far is look at 3 sites. Sharon was kind enough to show me around to the sites that she thought should be considered. The existing pool site, obviously, is one. Just south of the spray pad, the newer spray pad that's in the park is the second site, and then the wellness center, the Reynolds Wellness Center, just to the south of that. So we looked at that. I have two documents here. I don't know if you want them now or pick them up at the end. But we started by doing a matrix. And in that matrix, we try to take subjective, hey, that's good or bad, and make it an objective comparison. So we give numbers to it. Importance factors for cost issues, function issues, community perception issues. And then we go through and I did this. You guys might want to look at it, and you might have a different take on some of these. And then we add all that up at the end. The first rated site was the wellness center. The second rated site was the spray pad. However, there's a problem. That area is located in the floodway. Can't build there. If it's in the floodplain, we could do a hydraulics analysis, and maybe you could, but it's in the floodway. So I wouldn't recommend using that site.
That's a spray pad?
Yeah, yeah. Just to the south of that, it drops off quite a bit. And I've got an image showing that here. I can, if you're curious about that. And the worst rated site was the existing pool site. One of the reasons, I mean, it's got some pros, and in this text, I've got pros and cons for each one listed. So you can look at those and take issue with it, try to understand at least my perspective, not living here, outsider, but my perspective with pools. I've been working on pools since 1983. I have been involved in almost 400 pool evaluations, planning, and design. If that means anything. Anyway.
Yeah, Dave, they got all that in their
sorry.
email. No, you're good.
Don't want to waste.
I want to see the drawing. Did you bring a drawing?
I have drawings in here of we
did 2 layouts for each of the 3 sites. So there are 6 layouts to look at. They range in size from about 4,000 square feet of water up to almost 9,000 square feet of water. 4,000 is probably too small for you, I think, for your community. 9,000 is going to be pretty pricey. That's going to be upwards of $5 million. I think that's probably too big. I'm not here to ask for validation or any kind of approval of anything. This is sharing information right now and showing you what could fit on the sites. And that doesn't mean you have to pick this one or that one. But it gives you an idea of the flexibility and the variety that you could consider for a pool. The second layout is, I did put a PowerPoint presentation together, but Sharon said, well, jump in the gun. And in that, I've got some of the same information, but I also have images of the features that we are recommending you consider. Zero depth, shading the water, spray features, water slides, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'd like you guys to do, everyone, I've got, I think, 15 copies here. Take one of each of these and try to digest it. There'll be some repetition between both of these. I've got the same table. I've got the same pool layouts in here. But it's a beginning point. It's a beginning point.
Can
You
you-
never want to let somebody like,
While we've got you here, if you don't mind, if you'll pass those out.
Absolutely.
They may have questions already that, before you get away, we can.
absolutely.
I have one while you're passing those out. So, in the information you provide, you talk about outdoor public pools are, typically lose money and they get subsidized. I have a question of, what do you see in the difference between an outdoor pool and one that's has a building over it and being able to use it all year long with activities like swimming?
You will lose more money.
lessons? Okay, perfect, that's what I wanted to know.
Guaranteed. You will absolutely lose
That's
more
an easy
money.
answer then.
Did you say you'll lose more money?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Buy a bucket full. OCCC closed.
Seminole State would agree with you on that.
It's counterintuitive. You would think an indoor pool, it's there all the time. You're heating it, you're humidifying it all the time when there's water. So, no, you need to have a tax base to support the operations if you do an indoor pool. That's a challenge. You'll spend more money in 20 years on the operation than you will on building it. The capital cost is, indoor pool, capital cost is easier to come up with than the operating cost. Yeah, questions, please. Steve, did they get a list of some of the pools we've done in Oklahoma?
I'm not sure
I think
that
we've
I.
seen it.
We're recently completing one in Norman, 10 million, and they've got an indoor facility coming on board. They're gonna start that process.
Wow, didn't I hear what you had to say about that?
Indoor? Yes, but they have a swim team that,
Oh, okay, there you go.
that is quite influential. Quite influential. We've done one in Moore, an outdoor facility, 2 in Ada. We renovated a facility in Ardmore. We have worked for, we did Shawnee, their outdoor pool. Part of that was reused, but mostly it was new. Rose State College, we renovated their indoor facility. We worked Will Rogers for Oklahoma facility. So, anyway.
So what are some of the changes, the new features as far as the operation of the pools today versus what it would have been? We won't go back to when ours was built, but just over the course of the past few years, or 10 years, or 15 years.
Sure, be glad to talk about that. The oldest pool we've renovated was built, that I worked on, was built in 1918 and still exists on the 6th floor of Mark Twain Towers in downtown Kansas City. Riveted steel construction and a concrete pool was built. It's still there. Mistake was they put all the treatment system in the basement. Pipes broke, flooded 7 floors. Anyway, don't do that.
Okay.
we see strange things, very strange things. In the past, the focus was not on the water quality. Initially it was. They were designed as water treatment plants. They had coagulation and flocculation and gravity sand filters, very expensive. It worked, and they used gas chlorine. Folks don't do that now for perhaps obvious reasons. However, the Oklahoma State Health Department regulations mandate you use chlorine gas. They haven't changed that since the 1950s, but they absolutely prohibit it. Even if you wanted to, it wouldn't let you. Kind of strange. The focus now is on water quality. You may have heard of some of the challenges with Cryptosporidium, Giardia. These are infectious organisms, and chlorine or any halogen chemical will not inactivate those. You're not trying to kill them, you're trying to keep them from replicating, because that's what gets you sick in your gut. If you try to use it with chemicals, you would have such a dose that nobody would get in the pool. So to fix that, you either use filtration that will take it out, well, that's diatomaceous earth, or that is perlite. Those are the two medias that can take that out. So we can do that. You can also use ozone, relatively expensive, hard to manage and operate. The more practical thing is to use ultraviolet light, UV units. They're used in drinking water, they're used in wastewater in lieu of chlorine before you dump it in the stream. Very effective, especially for indoor pools, because they get rid of the chloramines that are in the air. That's what you smell. It's not too much chlorine, it's not enough. Another counterintuitive issue. So UV, very effective, very appropriate on pools. The play features are probably the biggest thing. Easy to see, big, tall water slides, but you don't have to do big, huge expensive. You can spend $1 million on a water slide if you want. That's, I think, insane. But you can provide sprays for the toddlers, play areas for little older kids, floatables in 3 foot of water, family slides that are maybe only 10 feet tall but 8 feet wide, and you have a short run, but you can put 2 or 3 people on that at the same time. Lazy rivers are probably the most demanded feature. I didn't include a lazy river. I did include a current channel, which is a mini version of that. And the kids don't care. It's just as much fun. The adults don't enjoy it as much. But if you had the money and the space, and you do at the rec center, a lazy river would be top of the list. I'd put that ahead of some of the other features I talked about. So the message here is you have a lot of choices, and you're not going to get everything, and there is no magic menu of what you should use. I've suggested ones that I think are appropriate to consider, but every client we work with, we ask them to prioritize the features they like. Like, what's the number one thing you don't want to have a pool without? Number 2, number 3, number 4. And eventually your budget runs out, or the site size runs out, or your ability to hire lifeguards for it is going to be a challenge. So that's how we bring the designs together, is by challenging you. Often there's a pool committee. I don't know if you guys will have that, citizens, or if it'll be yourselves. Both can work. So my job is to kind of educate you about the opportunities and the possibilities, and I can give you costs, and there's costs in this document for each, not each, but most of those individual ones. I can see a diving board is $20,000. That sounds absurd, but you've got to make the pool 13 feet deep. And otherwise you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't make it that deep. So part of that is the extra structure.
Could we build it at our existing site cheaper?
Yes and no. What you've got there is parking. You've got utilities. You've got a bathhouse that could be renovated, connected to the community center. The challenge there is going to be fitting what you would like to have on there. The smaller cost layouts that I talked about, $3,000 to maybe 4,000, a little over 4,000 square feet would fit there. You've got a power line on the west side, you've got parking on the east side, and then you've got other features to the south, and you can't build to the north, so you're really landlocked there. You can build a pool there. And the reality of the site size is gonna save money, because you can't build more there. You couldn't build a big lazy river there. But you can build a nice community pool. It's gonna be the community's decision as to whether you wanna build it at a modest cost, save money on the site work, and not attract people from outside. So that's one of the benefits of an outdoor pool. If you build it with enough attraction, you'll bring people from 30, 60 miles away occasionally. Not price it, price it as a commercial water park, where they charge $20 to $40 a person. That's not a community pool. I think you want it to be cost effective for everybody in the community. If you have to charge a little bit more and some people can't afford it, a lot of communities have scholarships or service organizations contribute they'll buy so many swim. You look at the assisted school lunches and who's on that list, and maybe folks in the community can help them out. So you have to weigh, because if you do a lot of big fancy stuff, you're talking about more operating costs, more chemicals, more pumping, more water consumption, and more staffing. So your operation goes up. So your ticket prices can't go up directly proportional to that. You make it balance or come close to balance by increasing the attendance, increasing the number of people. Has anybody been to Derby, Kansas, south of Wichita? We did a pool facility there probably 15 years ago, and they have 250,000 people in Wichita. And Wichita has a lot of YMCA's, and their outdoor pools are defunct, and they want to get rid of most of them. So people would drive 15 miles to Derby, and they would have days of over 2,500 people who went there. They didn't stay all day, but they made money through the end.
Dee Dee, he mentioned one thing I want to make sure that you guys hear, and I'm not necessarily trying to detract from the original site there. However, on numerous occasions, we've had opportunities to get money from the Land Water Conservation Fund. LWCF has strict requirements, especially as it's related to water features near power lines. And we've not been able to get a lot of that money, to the point that we ultimately got pricing to ask OG&E how much it would cost to relocate those away from our swimming pool, because we, at one point, we lost out on a $600,000 grant to help us maintain that big dude. And the OG&E came back and said, well, we'll do it for a mere $1.2 million. We'll relocate the power away from the pool. Well, obviously, that puts us out of the market. So one big detraction from that side is the proximity to the power lines.
Does the staff favor one side over the other?
I would rather that go to a committee made up of either city council or a mixture of city council and citizens to kind of go through what he's doing, rather than us just say, this is the answer. I think it really needs to be a grassroots discussion of, okay, well, now we understand why we're not going back in the historic location if that's the choice, or why we're not going next to the Reynolds Wellness Center. We need that to come from the people rather than from staff, I think.
Are y'all talking about doing away with the pool up here and moving it to the wellness center?
It's closed, Bob. We cannot use the pool up there any longer.
Because of the plumbing or code?
It's been condemned, has it not?
Yeah, it got to the point it had leaked so much it had undermined the earth underneath the pool, and Yeah, it's in really bad shape, and we've tried to renovate so many times that ultimately the Band-Aids got bigger than the problem.
Well, I've been up here the last 3 or 4 years, in the summertime, you're lucky if you got 30 people at the pool. So I don't see why you even have one that big to begin with. Maybe years ago, there was a lot more used, but not today.
Well, the customers expect more than what we were offering. I'll put it that way.
I grew up in a small town in central Kansas, and the most enjoyable part of the day in the summer was getting out of the fields and going to town 8 miles away and just standing in the water and cooling off. No air conditioning, no shower in the house, limited water on the farm. That was just the most glorious thing. Well, times have changed. We didn't have air conditioning. Now people are air conditioned, and we all expect or want to be entertained.
We had farm ponds.
I did that too. So entertainment is really what drives a lot of these features. Some of them, the kids can play themselves, some can play with their parents, etc. So it's just totally different. And at a meeting one time, somebody said, well, just make those kids swim laps. Well, why don't we make them run on the streets and get their exercise that way? It doesn't happen. By having things they can enjoy and play in, they're getting exercise. They just don't know it. They just don't know it. And learning to swim is still a critical municipal, I believe, a thing to have.
Have you run the numbers out on 6,000 versus 7,000 and so on?
No, sir, that would be part of the work that the committee would do, and they can utilize the staff to run financing options, and Dave, I'm sure, will bring wheelbarrowfuls of money to help us finance this.
At this point, it says the consideration possible action regarding the location and all that. We're not really ready to set up a location and all that at this point, correct?
What I would recommend is that
Maybe
you appoint a committee.
Committee, absolutely. That's where I was headed.
And then the committee will bring back recommendations and solutions for the issues that it's facing.
And as we go through this, and yourselves and the committee provide information and preferences, we'll hone down these multiple layouts into a layout that
Sure.
works for you, that works for your site, and it works for your budget. So what you're looking at now is just a relative comparison of certain sizes on the sites. By no means is your approval in this.
Do I have a motion to set up a committee for this?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Yes.
Roll call, Jay?
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'll make sure that Steve gets the committee and all that, absolutely in touch with you to look at different things as far as, obviously it's gonna depend on size, location, features that you want and that, and, of course, somebody's gotta
Features that
pay
you
for
want.
it. Well, somebody's gotta pay for it after that, so.
And the costs that are in here now, there's a table with each pool, square foot of water, and a cost. Those costs are what we call project costs. They
Right.
include the construction cost, plus the contractor's overhead and profit, plus a contingency, plus design fees, plus surveying, plus everything out of pocket you would have to spend. But I used a certain dollar amount per square foot. When we hone it down, you'll have an 18-page line item of things. We take the costs off like contractors would, based on all our past projects.
Thank you
Here's
very
some
much.
extra-
Fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate it,
Thanks, sir.
Dave.
Comments, city manager?
Yes, several. I'll refer you to your packet on the animal control letter. Rosemary's here with us tonight. There's also been some discussion about developing a dog park. I just wanted to brief you a little bit about that. It appears that we're going to have to find a location that's at least a half-city block. The issues confronting that are many, but we're going to try to conquer that. We think we've got a pretty good funding source to build it. However, the maintenance and providing the doggy sacks that people need to clean up the area and those things are going to have to be repetitive. The mowing, the safety issues, the liability. Brad he's put me in a headlock a few times and said, look, you got to pay attention to this liability on the dog park. It's serious. It's something that you've got to take into account. But we're gonna go through it and try to bring you guys a solution. And the citizens, I think, we've heard from many that want it. And so we're going to try to bring some concepts to you guys, and you guys will be able to make the decisions. The Tractor Supply email, that was pretty neat. That's in your packet where they say, thank you, Seminole. We've not had anybody that worked with us like we've had here in Seminole. The airport hangar the lease rates on the hangars are going up. That's also in your packet. And then we got our layout plan tonight. I had just want to brag a little bit on a dear friend of my daughter's, who's now my friend, won a big award in New York City, Baker Mayfield. Pretty good job there, son. Snowman Wonderland is now underway, and we want to encourage everyone to get out and ride in Dee Dee's tractor or Jeff's tractor. They're pulling trams around. What a fantastic deal. I mean, we've got 150 some odd exhibits, and it's pretty special what's going on out there. I want to encourage everyone to participate. The Christmas parade was a big win. Congratulations to our Main Street folks. Let's see. Oh, a big atta-girl to Jeanette Kennedy, our librarian. She went and chased that money for the renovation. I'm really proud of her and Jay, of course. And lastly, not least, we've had the flu bug going around, and so our TV crew was out of whack tonight. So Sharon Emmett stepped out. She would have been the champion for your swimming pool discussion here, but she's in back making sure that we get televised tonight. So thank you for that, Sharon. That's all I've got, Mayor.
Well, I don't have anything from a business standpoint, but I do want to share something with you. So Mr. Saxon, of course, we all know his daughter attends the University of Oklahoma. It's been a very bitter pill for him to swallow because there's only one other, I guess, hardline cowboy in our midst, and that is our mayor. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you, not to be fooled by Steve, because he likes to say things like he just said, such as Baker Mayfield, great guy, wonderful. He won the Heisman. That's great. Cowboys don't say those types of things, right?
No.
Do they, Mayor?
No, I liked his actions on that last game. That was nice.
So, but I want to tell this just real quick. Steve calls me and says to me, there's Dad's Day coming up at this Saturday. This was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Oh, you just happen to be playing TCU. Do you have an extra ticket? Can I buy a ticket off of you? Sure. Are you going to go to the game? Because I'm not going to give you the ticket if you're not going to attend the game. Yes, I'm going to attend the game. And and by the way, do you happen to have something I could borrow to wear? So I'm not made at home. I show up. It's time for the game, and he's got a handful of shirts. OU, of course, because you know that he is not going to have anything like that in his home. So I was going to do this at the city Christmas party, but why not do it now? Oh. While we've got the television here, why not give him an OU tie for Christmas?
Hey, yeah.
So that he can wear it proudly, right? And Mayor, I would ask you, because I know you're not going to order it though, so maybe I need to go to the vice mayor, who is a rabid OU fan, if he would direct the city manager to at least wear that when the Sooners play in the Orange Bowl. But more importantly, I'd like to see him wear it Friday, but with a Santa hat. But
I think absolutely.
In some form or fashion.
Just remember, at the Rose Bowl, the last time we played was, about 14 years ago, and we won it then, so we're gonna win it again.
Well, I'm counting noses on the vote, so it looks like I'm going to be wearing the tie, so.
But anyway, I didn't want him to have to borrow any more clothing. He can
Yeah.
at least wear a
Thank you,
tie the next
Brad.
game. Anyway, that's all I have,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mayor.
Brad.
I have leftovers, sir. Just holler at me. I'll hook you up. Ward 1, Larry.
I just want to reemphasize that I think the long run is the most important thing to look at in the future of a community. And I think the best investment for a happy, healthy community is to do what we can to help women and girls grow up in happy, healthy homes.
Ward 1, Bill Wantley.
Well, what Larry said, put another way, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
There you go.
And that's the truth.
Ward 2, Jeff Griffin.
Well, I am gonna say that Steve did have an OU shirt, because I gave him one, but he gave it away pretty quickly to his daughter. So, he should have given her a call. Great. Well, I wanna kind of expand on, the Snowman Wonderland and really the hard work that the city staff and many other people have put into, presenting this. I mean, it is, really great to be able to go out and just see the people coming up and walking around. You know, they drive from several miles away, I mean, 50 miles away or farther, to come out and to walk or ride or just look at the, whatever activities are going on during the evening. And that's just fun to see as a community. And, you know, I think it's great. I think it's one of the best things that's happened, but it's taken an effort by a wide swath of people of Seminole to put this together. And it's great to see come together and to just be popular. Again, city staff, you know, they worked hard, but they do a lot of other things too besides just that. And, you know, I had someone I was discussing something with about some trees and some tin that had happened from the tornado, and some of it's still around. And I reminded them the fact that we do not have the prison help that we used to have. And, you know, they go, yeah, you know, that's right. Everyone forgets about that. I mean, we do too, that we had hours and hours per week of this extra help. And I know there's still some things at the cemetery, but our employees are working hard to try to take care of all those things. So I just ask for a little bit of patience as they try to finish up those projects that we have. But we really do appreciate all the work that goes into
it. Ward 4, Chris Hansen.
I have nothing.
Ward 4, Dee Dee Patterson.
Well, I'd like to say even more about our Wonderland. Ernie, if you'll take it back to your club, they're doing a marvelous job. Neil, I know his heart, that's all he's doing now. And bless his heart, he's really working at it. But it's amazing how many people we have been coming into town and riding those trams and walking through our displays out there. It's great. So you need to pat them all on the back, tell them we're proud of them because they're doing a good job. That's all I have.
Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Larry, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. Thank you for all you've done for us.
Brother, I'm already feeling
Hey, there's one more.
Yeah. I'm gonna need it. Oh, boy. I was trying to beat him to the punch. This is not
You got a lot of paperwork to pick up. I don't think we need them. That's all swimming pools there.